Death first. Moving is not fun.
It's not.
You're going to need a whole lot more than that.
I know. I wish this was stronger than it actually is. It's true. I wish it was the real.
Oh, man. It is rough. Let's get into it. I've got a diplomat that we are going to very much utilize today because I'm going to probably be off the rails and you're going to need to bring me back. Okay. Where was that shooting at? Minnesota? Minneapolis?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Minnesota. I heard something go off. One of the cameras, something. I don't know.
That was probably my phone.
Oh, no, it was his phone. Never mind. Oh. Mr. Westover Law Firm, the sponsor of this show, is ordering food for his wife because they are in the middle of a move. And what a good man.
Well, I already pissed her off this morning, so.
Okay, well, we're both in that same boat. We're both there.
So, yeah, maybe good man in trying to resolve what I...
Before possibly she creeps in, let's start where I want to start. Pain in Minnesota shooting. What does that have to do with it? We're going to pretend like this is a bucket. We're going to start, or that we can pretend like that's a bucket too, but you'd have to be a better shot.
Yeah, it's a little
bit better, not much better, but a little bit better. Pain, the saying goes, no pain, no gain. And back when Western medicine was cranking along and developing, we had all sorts of wives' tales, shaman, weird things that people would do for whatever purposes. But for the most part, illness was just kind of part of life. And then Western medicine began, and pain was not on the first 5 tenets of treatment. Wasn't even on it. Wasn't on a list at all. And pain has been, but is now much more aware. We're much more aware of what these pills do, what these pain medications can do for a prolonged period of time. And so doctors are far more cautious than they were just a few years ago. It's interesting for me to watch. Loved one of mine just had a surgery, and she got 8 pills. 8.
Yeah.
And before, you're looking at 30 at a minimum, 45. They used to have refills on them. They don't now. And so it's definitely a concerted effort to prescribe, for the physician to prescribe less. However, you go into the hospital. So as this surgery was transpiring, they're hitting her with Dilaudid, they're hitting her with fentanyl, they're hitting her with
straight through the IV.
And this is after the fact, and she's just a little uncomfortable, or more than she didn't deal well with pain. And so by the time I get back there, I'm looking for a gurney. They can't take the catheter out. She can't pee. Why? She can't feel a daggum thing from eyebrows to toenails. So it's like, oh, man, you're going to have to deal with a bloody catheter for the next week. That's going to be a big issue, and this, that, and the other, and the recovery is going to be prolonged. And that's exactly where my mind goes. So there's this gauge, I call it, all right, your healing gauge. So each one of us have a car, and it has a gauge in it that says hot or cold, and that gauges your engine heat. Well, let's pretend like each one of us have a healing gauge. All right. Well, the second you start putting in pain medication, that healing gauge is all over the place. You're nowhere. You're nowhere. Well, so we're going to put that in the bucket. That's one thing. Now we got a tranny shooting up a church. Absolute travesty. And the fact that they're a tranny, I bring that up only because we've got a mental health issue here. And how many times are we going to keep saying we have a mental health issue here? We have a mental health issue here. Possibly the pendulum that we discuss in many other regards swung very, very far in our Western medical society to where my kid's not normal. Let's get him on medication. My kid's not normal. Let's get him into therapy. My kid's not normal. Let's put him in a special class. We didn't have any of those things when I was growing up. We did not have that. We had learning disability, which was a big old fat hairy tag on you saying that you're not very smart. And I went to those classes and somehow got through them and learned how to read and then moved along with the rest of the class and somehow managed to graduate 6th grade and thereafter. Um, that said, um, we've talked about the EpiPen when I was working with the little guys in church. And did we talk about that?
I don't know.
Okay, my first experience. Okay, first experience ever with we're off we're off the rails. We got problems, Houston. First experience. So Reed was in what we call nursery at the church. So this particular church I was attending at that time, um, I mean, I still attend the same church, just different ward, different location. Um, okay, Reed's a hard one, and this particular ward was brilliant. They put dudes in the nursery because why would you put a mom in the nursery? They're with kids all week long. Put the dudes in there. Well, we had 4 dudes in there with like 17 little ones. And a friend of mine that I graduated high school with brings his little guy, and he's about 2 years old, which usually it's 18 months when they start in there. He's about 2 years old, so he's young. He's on the young end. Reed's still the craziest one in the room by a slide. He wins. But bunch of easygoing dudes that are just throwing Cheerios on the floor, and the kids are going and chasing after it, and that's kind of the way we ran. It's good times. But they deliver this kid with a shot, and I'm like, what in the Sam is this? Oh, it's an EpiPen. If he has anything with peanuts or this or that or whatever else, you have to give him a shot. And they showed me, anywhere will do. They like the leg. And I'm sitting there with this blank stare on my face, like, what are you talking about? A peanut allergy? I'd never heard of such a thing. I'm 30 years old, 29, 30 years old. I'd never heard of it. Now, maybe I was behind the times. Don't know. But nobody I ever seen or heard about had some sort of shot they were rolling around in their pocket in case they had a peanut, ever. And so I thought, there went the neighborhood right then and there. We have allergy medication that we take because we call things allergies that are not allergies. They're responses. They're Jesse, my 20-year-old. He's allergic. No, it was Clint, 14-year-old. He's allergic to amoxicillin or penicillin, right? He's allergic. What does that mean? Well, he has a reaction to penicillin. What is this reaction like? Does his throat swell up and does he start convulsing? Or does he get little red dots on his chin? He gets little red dots on his chin. He has a little breakout every time he was prescribed something with penicillin in it, right? So my 14-year-old to this day does penicillin because I said, why the heck am I going to do that? I'm going to 99% of all antibiotics for the rest of his life, unless he just gets over the fact that he gets a bump or two. But they call that an allergy. It's not an allergy. It's a reaction. And it's not even close to a bad one. And so I didn't want him to be 20 years old in the military, let's just say, pretend, and not be able to take penicillin. Have some weird thing on his card. No, he's open to it all. We swung too far. We're overprescribing. We have overprescribed, and now we're starting to come back a little bit. I've noticed, given the fact that the little bit of pain medication that was administered, that still hasn't hit the hospitals. They'll still hit you with all sorts of fun stuff intravenously, but I don't like this because it's a no pain, no gain. It's completely antithetical to it. It's just antithetical. Oh, I've got this, and I'm shut down because of this. I'm shut down because of that. Where is some grit and toughness? Where is some I mean, how often did you play with? I mean, you played at a high level in basketball. How often did you play perfect?
Yeah, never.
Right. Never. It's a nothing burger. It's a never. And so, but you played at a high level for a reason. And that's one of them. Can you imagine nowadays? I mean, you've got the flat feet, you've got the this inserts, you've got the thises, you've got the that's, you've got all sorts of things. And you've got, oh, my kid's got to take Claritin because they're allergic to. When I see a dust storm, I'm in. I'm in the dust storm. Bring it on. That means that's all around me. Going to have to get used to it. If I'm stuffy for a day or two, I'm not taking the Afrin spray. I'm not taking the Sudafed. I'm not taking the Claritin. I'm just going to be stuffy for a few days. It wears off and away I go. When he was young, I was sick a lot. When I scrapped all these things, I haven't been sick much since. So,
So what do you say?
I want your take on this because that's my very strong opinion, and I understand it's an opinion.
On what?
So, are we overprescribing and are we creating a weak, soft society in that regard?
So you brought up allergies, you brought up mental health, you brought up physical health. You just
we're
said
going
in
to get
general.
we're going to get back to Minnesota in a minute. Because we're creating that little bits at a time throughout the years.
So do I agree that sometimes we're quick to, and I think this is a fault of sometimes modern medicine because we have so much accessibility. Are we quick to throw a medication at it without trying to treat it in another way? Probably mask a lot of things that we could potentially build up immunity for or whatever else. I hesitate to say that because you're kind of like, hey, tough everything out without medication. My sister's bipolar.
Okay. And I know that there's a little bit of something going on there that we've talked about before. So
it's a real issue.
I wanted your opinion.
Yeah. And mental health runs strong in my family. I luckily have avoided most of it, but it's
that's debatable.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm sure there's.
I'm just having fun.
No, but it's. I've watched really close family members suffer on the mental health side of things and watched it up close. And I will defend till I'm blue in the face that those that get the help they need, whether that is not prescribed or prescribed, that it's absolutely neat.
What does that look like? Help me out with that, because I represent probably people that have the same condition as your sister. Most of the time, I will say this, and I will defend this to the death, much like you will on your end. Most of the time, it's self-created. However, not always. And you can tell the difference. There's an ever so slight difference from those that have been self-medicating with all the wrong things, methamphetamines or alcohol or cocaine or just anything to numb whatever the problem might be, because they're no longer able to get Adderall because they were abusing it. And so they're no longer able to get this or that or the other. So, okay, when I meet them, they're so far gone they're very, 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 very far left of center. But a lot of that was self-created, or all of it was. Now, then you get those.
You don't think there's a cause and effect of what perhaps drove them to those drugs and alcohols?
I do.
So self-created in the sense, I think, is a harsh word a little bit. I think
I like where you went there.
Some people exacerbate their problems. I think most drug addicts have something going on mentally that's causing them to do that. And so I give grace there. Do they exacerbate their problems? Absolutely. The majority of the ones that are going that hard have not treated what they have, and they're treating it with drugs and alcohol, which then it may have been just a manic depression issue that now turned into schizophrenia.
Right.
That happens. And
Sure.
and is there some responsibility that person owes for not treating it and or not staying on their medication? Absolutely. The medication's hard.
Yeah.
I see it on,
It's a grind. And that's why I
adjusting
wanted
to
to
the
open this book a
medication
little
is
bit.
absolutely the worst thing in the world.
And there's tweaks, and
it sucks. And it's a tweak
it's ongoing
that
too.
is for life. And
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak to my sister who's the model patient, and literally
That's where I want to go.
she goes, I mean, she will tour with her doctor, and the doctor uses her as a model patient, but it was hell. I mean, hers hit about 17 years old, maybe 18 years old. Started having panic attacks in college when she was taking tests, and
Probably
some
felt
other things
really
that
not
happened
good about herself there, and
on relationships that got taken advantage of, and I blame some people, but there's triggers always to this stuff, and when it happened hard, and then trying to get on the medication, she would crawl into bed with penguins dancing on the ceiling, with her literally like feeling like
What,
spiders
did you
were
say
crawling.
penguins?
Yeah, literally came in and said, "There's penguins on the ceiling," and
Like Mary Poppins
yeah,
penguins.
like, and she was wide awake, and that medication is nasty, and then the medication makes you gain weight, and it makes you not sleep, and so then you have to supplement it with Ambien, and then like her pill box is like 15 pills a night, and she has to stay on a regimen where she has to be asleep at 10 o'clock, and she has to be awake at a certain time, and it takes away all emotion from you, and so she's gray, and she knows it, and that's the problem with this medication is that most people want to feel the highs and lows of life, or at least want to feel the highs.
Right.
She can never feel the high.
Right.
She doesn't feel the lows anymore, but now
Right.
she's just baseline.
Right.
Makes it hard to be a mom, makes it hard to be a kid of a mom.
What percentage of the population do you think fall in that category? Because it's a sliding scale. Your sister is likely, like you said, the model citizen of, okay, this is a big problem, and this is where it began, and this has been the journey to get to today. Okay, and she functions, and
Absolutely.
she's with us,
Very well.
and maybe she's the sister that likes to watch us, and so we want to shout out.
Her daughter, but she's my hero. I mean, literally, whether I tell her that or not,
she needs to be, because that's a big effort. That's your life revolves
trying to do
around
that because
self-care.
Because I have other family members that are in the exact same diagnosis, and they've been in and out of mental hospitals, and partly it's because they find somebody that tells them the medication's not needed. They go to somebody that says there are natural ways to do this, and then they have a psychotic break. And I had a cousin driving down the road with her daughter in the car, and she thought everyone was chasing her, and 120 miles per hour down the freeway, and her daughter called her dad and said, we're done, and found out that she had stopped taking her medication because somebody had convinced her, some self-help coach had convinced her that it wasn't needed anymore.
When you point at me like that, I understand 100% what you're saying. I believe in a few things. I believe most of the time, most people are not in your model sisters category. Most are not.
Of how they treat it?
No, most are not mentally affected or emotionally, however you want to put it, because it's kind of a whole body thing. In my mind, I mean, they call it mental health, but I think it's just from head to toe, but it's also mainly between the ears. Most people probably aren't on the spectrum, and I don't like to use that word, to be honest with you, but most people aren't on this she's model, and likely has had lots. I'm going to assume that she's had lots of counseling. I'm going to assume that she's really put in the work to get to where she's at. And to me, that's very respectable. I'm never going to see her in my office, having been on a 120-mile-an-hour wild goose chase with the police chasing them and having self-medicated and you know. But there are, and so that's a minority of people. I think that there's a lot of people in a rush to get there because life is difficult, and the ups and downs, as you brought up, they're kind of going through a lot of downs. And so, well, I must be this, or I must be that, or I must be this. And I'm just thinking there's a lack of grit and a lack of playing through pain. Are you hurt or are you injured? Are you in this category or this one? And that's an exploration for all of us, because you even mentioned, hey, maybe I have a little bit of this, right? And so maybe we all do have a little bit of this. Um, that said, it's not to disrespect, it's to uber respect those that do what your sister, funny enough, I have a sister that does not medicate. However, weekly with the psychologist, one that can prescribe weekly because she's trying to avoid the medications and things of that nature, but she is always working on those major anxiety swings and always working on these things.
And
And
not every
there
mental
may
illness
be a
needs to be
time,
medicated, for
there may
sure.
be a
There's
time
skills.
where she elects to go that route. Okay. And I wouldn't judge her one bit, but I respect the effort that she's making towards herself, much like you respect the effort. And we all should respect the effort that your sister has made towards herself, because that puts her as function and with us. And, even her gray is a better color than not a color. And so to me, it's okay. It's not optimal, but we have her, and that part to me is respectable. She's not in and out of institutions. She's not. She's in bed every night at 10. I'd like to be more like her, to be honest with you.
It's a hard
'Cause,
life.
I mean, I frankly think this kid right over here in the corner needs to be in bed by 10 every night, and he's just not. But these young people burn it all at both. Anyway, let's carry on. I want to put this into possibly, and here's the question then. Minnesota, okay, is the shooter, who was fairly young, in the 20s, right? Early 20s,
24, I think.
something like that. And we've seen some social media posts of this person. And that's about as much as, frankly, I think has been released at this point. A little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Um, obviously struggling with gender identification, obviously struggling with some mental between the ears. Is this person, what category is this person in? Things are so confusing in life right now. Growing up's hard to do. Finding a group that you fit in is hard to do. And now you've got, and we've talked about this, I know, now we've got furries, and we've got, you guys can help me with this. All the different groupings of people in high school that didn't exist when we went to high school. Nobody was dressing like a raccoon, or what do they dress like? The furry people.
Furries, cartoon
Animals.
characters.
Okay, you say furry like that's an animal. Is furry an animal?
Usually, I think. I don't know.
It is?
You know what? Disney's Robin Hood?
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay, so any old animal. They can pick a raccoon, a fox,
Yeah.
Just like a character thing.
a character. Okay, so Caden just said just like a character. You just pick a character. Interesting. Okay, so we have that group. And then you have your drama class. That much we had. Yeah, or you had your band, or you had your chorus. But what else did you have? Because that was weird. They had litter boxes for a minute and a half in bathrooms. And confusing times is what I'm trying to say. And gender affirming things, and this, and people starting to take medication at too young of an age, which I believe we all can agree on as far as transitioning. I feel like I feel like I want to be like Mike Rowe, but I'm a girl.
No.
So
I'm not sure that we're,
So I'm going societally.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to isolate this to what we respect in all the effort yours and my sister has made to kind of maintain that.
Look, so my point is,
some stability.
is mental health is real.
No doubt.
I'll never not say that. I think it'd be a disservice to what I've seen and what I've dealt with, and it's real. My wife would tell you that she suffers from some striking anxiety. That's part of the reason I'm ordering her lunch, right? Because moving and leaving a house after 12 years. And
real long. Yeah.
So mental health's real. Getting it taken care of is real. Whatever you choose to do that, whether that's you feel like naturally, whether you feel like medication, I have zero judgment. Do whatever it takes to make you with us. I mean, there's way too much in life to deal with right now.
Yeah.
In our society.
By with us, you mean with us, meaning part of society.
Alive.
Just okay, alive. Gotcha.
I mean, alive, functioning as best as you can.
Would you agree, possibly, that most at this point in our where we're at this day, whatever day it is in August of 2025, what are we on the 30th? Oh yeah, I was close. Shootest. Anyway, good. The month's not over. Would you agree that our society is soft? We have a soft society.
Um,
I'm not trying to win a debate.
no,
Right here. I'm not trying to be a master debater.
So soft to me. So here's my thing. I had an interesting thing with a client yesterday, and this client, every time something this is on my business immigration side, so it's a different type of clientele. It's CEOs. It's different personality.
Got it.
Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. This particular person happens to be almost lost it.
Good catch.
Yeah, happens to be very condescending
Did it get
when
you?
when he responds to emails, like something we need from him. It's like, isn't this your job type of situation. I take it. I've taken it we've been doing this case for 3 or 4 years. But yesterday,
He's condescending to you?
yeah.
And don't you love that?
It's
like telling the doctor before they're about to open you up, hey dude, you're ugly.
I had it yesterday. That's the point of this. Is I had it yesterday. He sent another email, and he always bullet points it. There was something that we needed, and that we needed to do with the case, and it was like, well, my gut reaction is to say, isn't this what we pay you for, and aren't you good at your job? Type of thing. I was like, are you? What is this? How you treat your employees? And I'd had it, so I wrote this email back, basically to get it off my chest, and I said some words in there, basically calling him an a-hole and saying I'm ready to cut my losses, and then I rewrote it, and then I used the word
Smart.
word
veteran.
condescending. Even though you're condescending, I'm going to continue to work on this. Called my dad, who's a business owner as well, and said, do I send? I need to get it off my chest. I'm not going to feel good about going forward with it unless I tell him that he needs to back off a little bit.
What'd your dad say?
My dad said, don't use that word. And I said, okay. Didn't like my dad's answer, called my mom. She
This is still going on to this day.
I
love this.
Yeah, and she was okay with me. My dad wanted me to cut out the part of me just calling him out at all, and I wasn't there. And so I called her, and she again didn't like the word condescending. So I changed it to harsh, and she was okay with that. And I sent it, and he responded back and owned it a little bit, as much as a CEO with a lot of money does, and basically said, that's not my intention. I just happen to be very direct and whatever else. Well, direct and condescending are two different things. So my point being, when you use the word soft, my first thought in my head was my dad wouldn't like that word.
I think your mom wouldn't like the word. I think your dad would agree.
I think both of them wouldn't like the word because he's very diplomatic like me. And so
it is impressive trait.
Have we turned, look, to your point of, are we quick to over medicate? Are we quick to label ourselves or label others with things that may even convince themselves that they have it? Yes. Are we too, I don't want to say accepting, but are we getting to the point where we confuse people because we are confusing our standards and morals? Yes, in certain respects. Soft, I don't know if that's the word I would use, because we're not 1950s coal miners anymore. And I think we give people more grace. And from the time I got married 20 years ago to now, if I was the same person, I'd probably be divorced because I probably wasn't soft enough. And so
that's probably true for a lot
So
of
now
us.
I've learned that I am in no one's shoes. and I don't know what anybody is dealing with. And my first question is always, where is their heart? Where is this coming from? And it's helped me tremendously to be able to deal with people. Yesterday, I had to pause because I thought this guy's heart was in the wrong place. And maybe it wasn't. And maybe the words I would have ruined a relationship and caused me a 1-star review and whatever else. And so maybe I saved that by getting it out and then backing it up, backing it back up.
Rewrapping it.
But I felt like I needed to get it off. And so, I mean, there's a balance in all of that. So I don't know if we're soft. Are we more accepting? And can that lead to some confusion? Absolutely. I think it's still the parent's role. And some parents take a different position than of trying their best. But ultimately, I heard a quote, and this is religious, but I heard a quote saying, as parents, we can use this as society, we're constantly trying to convince ourselves, what is it that we need to do to control our kids or to help our kids do this? And so we feel so much pressure and so much stress, and the kids feel that. And this person said, if we approach it and say, how can I aid God's child to do what they need to do best?
Right.
That it puts it in a different light, that this is, you're a steward, a responsibility, whether you believe that or not. I believe my kids and myself, we're children of God. And ultimately, the only thing I want to do is help somebody on their path to feel that connection to what their purpose is and what their life is. And I get that is going to come with some ups and downs, and it's going to sometimes comes with things that I don't necessarily believe in or even like. But I've just learned that if I can love and give grace, that either that relationship stays solid so that one day I can be a positive influence, or maybe they even come around to think about the things that I think are important and may accept those one day. And if they don't, ultimately, again, I'm putting that in, that'll be taken care of in some other respect. So I know that Minnesota's hot on everybody's mind, and I'm not minimizing that. It's just mental health and that particular. I mean, the allergies things, I don't know. I haven't done enough science to know whether, I mean, I've watched my mom almost die eating an avocado that she was allergic to that had just given her the bumps.
That's an allergy.
So that had given her the bumps 3 or 4 times, and then it closed up her throat one time because one time she thought it was just a reaction, and it ended up being an allergy, and literally had to drink a bottle of Benadryl. I was 5 years old on the phone with the paramedics.
That's an allergy. So I'm not saying that there's not allergies.
And I'm not saying one way or the.
We had the Benadryl.
Yeah. And I'm not saying one way or the other.
Look up President Hinckley. Most beef is tough. So see what comes up.
So basically, just on the mental health side, it's a sensitive issue for me, and it's something that I feel passionate about, even though I don't suffer from it. I am always going to give grace, and so this kid, I'm not giving him grace in the fact that he shot up a school. Like, that's ultimately, even when we have mental illness, we have agency,
right?
And his agency was to make other people suffer because he was suffering. And that's never...
Yeah, hurt people.
That's never okay.
Agree. Hurt people. But how many people in his life could have, or her? I don't really know.
And that's my question.
How many people there? Because
who watched him suffer all this and didn't notice?
Right. Who's pushing? Like, I'm going to go that a great majority, or many people, a lot of folks, wouldn't transition whatsoever with the right influences around them. Period.
I don't know.
I know that the diplomat's going to say, I don't know. I understand that. But I'm just saying that, look, you're going to go through, we used to call them tomboys. Or, if you were a male, we had other words for that. We can't put that out on the airwaves. But nonetheless, there was no transitioning.
Yeah, I know. Have we opened that up to be more accepting and
way up,
and
so it's
and then it
accepting,
allows
and then it allows confusion is what it does.
Sure, and I agree with that. That as the more that we're accepting for certain things, the more it becomes even an option, and probably not an option that that causes much happiness. It may cause some relief, and that's not that person's literally. I'll give them the grace that they may feel that way. Um, I think, and I have my opinions on this, that making those decisions often causes them in the long run more pain than they think that they're fighting against
Sure.
in the short term.
Which you would know that being
But I
a
get to look
concerned
at it
adult.
at an outside perspective, and I
Sure.
don't get to live in their shoes. And I think, unfortunately, yes, we open up. There's too many people that'll allow things to happen where then instead of dealing with, hey, I'm struggling with whatever it is, gender identity, I'm struggling with whatever, I need to deal with it because there's so many outlets for it. A lot of times, there's just groups pulling in different directions.
My twin little
Which
girl.
then, when you do certain things, there's no turning back,
Yeah.
and that's
My twin little girl went through, and it much to her mom's chagrin, went through a very tomboy on steroids phase. And I was like, okay. So she liked, she's like, Dad, I want to play baseball. I'm like, all right, let's play baseball. And we kind of ran through a myriad of just different types of things like that. Dad, I want to wear clothes like this. Okay, well, all right. As long as you got clothes on, it's presentable, da da da. At some point, that just faded out. And I don't know if there is a more girly girl in her junior high school than her at this point. But that was something that may have triggered different people in her life, different stewards or folks that are in charge of this young lady. Um, I don't find that to be odd. That wasn't even a challenging thing to do. Like, okay, you like baseball. Let's go play some baseball and put her in those leagues and so on and so forth. I mean, she just came into my. I was picking her up. She came into the truck and just threw her dancing crap. Just started ripping all her dancing stuff off. She was tired of doing the whole. And she does have a stage mom, granted, and pushing her hard into that perfect little dancing queen. The ones with the gallon of makeup on, and they're 7 years old,
Mhm.
that type of thing. And hey, to some folks really, really thrive on that and do well and enjoy it. She did not, and she took up the. I mean, I remember because it was like the glued on eyelashes, and she ripped those. It was hilarious. And I said, "All right, well, we'll just talk to mom, and you're not going to have to dance anymore. It's fine. It's not your thing. It's not everybody's thing. It doesn't have to be your thing." So I don't feel like everything's got to be a. Did you find it? Everything's got to be a big deal. Yeah, I want you to bring it over to me. I don't think that everything's got to be a big deal. I think that there's a sliding scale, but most things underneath a certain line, and this is you brought up some you I probably got it though. There seems to be superstition among many thousands of our young men and women who hold hands and smooch in the drive-ins, that marriage is a cottage surrounded by perpetual hollyhocks, to which a perpetual young and handsome husband comes home to a perpetually young and beautiful wife. When the hollyhocks wither and boredom and bills appear, hold on, and the bills appear, the divorce courts are jammed. Anyone who imagines that bliss in marriage is normal is going to waste a lot of time running around shouting that he has been robbed. The fact is, most putts don't drop. You should understand that. Most putts don't drop unless you're Westover. Most beef is tough. Most children grow up to be people. Most successful marriages require a high degree of mutual toleration. Most jobs are most often dull than otherwise. Life is like an old time rail journey. There are delays, sidetracks, smoke, dust, cinders, and jolts, interspersed only occasionally by beautiful vistas and thrilling bursts of speed. The trick is to thank the good Lord to letting you have the ride. You get your phone now. So most kids turn into being people. Most beef is tough. Life was not meant for another Hollywood prophet, Matthew McConaughey, says too many options will make a tyrant of us all. And so let us be with that. I'm not diminishing there are these things that exist. And I have dealt with folks. And you know what? I've dealt with folks that haven't done very well, like your sister, but are that have given a pretty valiant effort
Mhm.
and still
Struggle.
didn't make it to her stage to where she's at right now.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm representing them, whether it be in a divorce, whether it be in most of the time criminal defense. And this firm is wrapping their arms around this person. These people that we find, okay, now I will say they're not very many, but these people that we find that were trying, but not perfect, but were really on their way, but just, you know, when it's really hard to achieve what your sister's been able to achieve, or maybe even my sister too in this regard. It's really hard to get there where that self-love, that self-care, that self-awareness, and to where that shame, there should not be any shame. There should be an actual reverse of whatever shame, the reverse of shame would be. It should be something that she wakes up and goes, I'm a kick a chick.
Yeah.
Period, end of story. And that's what we would want her to feel, because that is what it is. But those that don't get there, and there are some that are trying but not perfect in the try, that end up in our hands. And some of these crimes are abysmal, and some of them are not. Some of these divorces are super hard, kids involved, and then obviously their condition is used against them, and that's an ugly thing too. Um, I find it interesting that I believe that there is not necessarily a hard cutoff, but then there is an unwilling to deal with the ups and downs of life. What we just read, the railway is chock full of dust, smoke, is chock full of things that are a nuisance along the way, with occasional bursts of beautiful vistas and great things. You had that. I started this whole thing with your basketball experience. When did you play perfectly healthy? And you answered that never. That's pretty much in line with that comment by Hinckley.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's tough. It's just like you talked about Western medicine developing, and now we're not dying in our 50s. You know, it's becoming it's this sliding scale, right? I the only thing I just don't want anybody to think from me personally is, if you're dealing with something that you're hearing from me, tough it out.
yeah,
Like,
I don't want him to hear that from me either.
and that's just not
Let's look at it would be my
something-
response.
because
Let's
I
check
think
this
what
out.
ends up happening is that whether we've created it or not, and we might have created it from environment, food, there's a lot of things that I don't know that the science is caught up to why we're so societally, we've got different morals and compasses and really it's the same thing we talk about with politics. We just have way too much information and pulls from every direction.
Yeah.
And so once somebody has an idea and then they can find a community that sometimes that idea is terrible. It's you could be Hitler and you find your people, right? Because you put it out there and that idea is evil and horrible, but it becomes accepted and a whole country all of a sudden embraces it. And that's sometimes what we create when we start to blur our morals and we find people that have, or either tell us it's okay. And that's, it's not to minimize that. It sucks dealing. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a kid right now. Part of the reason we don't deal with this is because if we had those thoughts, we didn't have to look them up and try and diagnose ourselves and then find a community that tells us absolutely that's what you have,
Right.
instead of dealing with it or instead of talking to somebody or whatever else. And then there may be we'll see what science tells us in the future, what our future holds. there might be things environmentally that have caused us to have a higher degree of mental illness than we had in the
I
past.
want to go back to one statement that you said that's awesome. You don't want people to think that you're saying tough it out. I don't either.
Yeah.
I do think that's an option, but I would like to be
And that's
thought of
that's
kind of,
individually.
kind of the way you're going. And I believe you and I are much closer aligned than this conversation began.
Yeah.
I believe that. Let's look at this. Let's see what we got. Let's see what options there are. Let's see what works. Let's see what doesn't. Let's not immediately jump to the extremes. Let's look at this. If someone would have done this with this 24-year-old, if somebody like Jesse Westover, our sponsor of this podcast, if somebody like you said, "Hey, let's look at this. Let's walk through this together."
And that's where I see the big issue is that I don't. The mental health issue is obviously somebody who shoots up a school is mentally ill.
This one might just be evil.
Yeah,
to be
and
straight with
he's
you.
mentally ill, and they're. I don't give him grace for that. What I don't know, and it'll be interesting to find out, is was the kid just left to his? Were there signs that nobody decided to take care of? Look, the good thing that I can tell you, I've had, family and kids and whatever else go through things and need extra help and whatever else. And a comment that I've always felt proud of is, in fact, we just had this comment the other day from a psychologist or a counselor, or what is I think she's a psychologist, and just said, if I had I just want you to know that you have amazing kids, and if I had the parental support on all these kids of all of the ones of patients that I have that care so much, you guys aren't perfect, and the kids might even be complaining about some of the things you're doing in the home as far as they don't agree with how you parent in certain ways, but you can tell when a parent cares, and when they're I mean, the money and the time and resources that sometimes can be spent on mental health is crazy too. I mean, that industry is taking advantage like crazy.
There's no question.
And so that was one of the greatest compliments, that I got was, I wish you guys care. And that makes such a difference in the world.
Huge.
And because of that, luckily for us, while we've had our struggles, we haven't had that tragedy. And that's not to say that there's a parent out there that does their damnedest to do everything that they can and still suffers. I know.
But that parent and that person also needs somebody like you, or like me, or like a neighbor, or like a professional, but hopefully a family member, close friend that's, hey, I'm in it with you.
Yeah. And I hope this Minnesota kid, I don't know anything about his parents. Unfortunately, usually we find out that the parents had a bunch of loaded weapons in the home and they knew he was sick and whatever else.
Given what we know.
But if they were doing their heck of a job.
Weird. This one's a weird one.
And I don't know
say
much about
that there's some mental stuff going on with the dude that killed the CEO of one of the big. There's some mental stuff going on with the. Yeah.
Mangione.
Oh man, these young men are bright.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he's got some mental off his cuckoo for. He's cuckoo.
That one felt like a break almost. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a break there. Yeah, a snap job. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom and cancer and all the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty. There was a snap, mental snap. But got you. This kid, given what I have seen, is and I confront ugly, but sheer evil very rarely.
Yeah.
This one looked online, and you guys maybe have seen some of the things that they're releasing that we have so far. Daggum. This is a deliberate, pretty ugly act. Something that would have had to have been caught way long prior, in my opinion, during this road, because it had gone pretty far deep to the kamikaze move that he ended up doing, and just the ugly behind it all. That said, okay, I wanted to bring this up because I know that I have a tendency to pull away a little bit from the quick remedy. And I feel like everybody should at least consider not doing the quick remedy unless absolutely necessary. I do believe that step by step, the caring that you and your wife do for your children, the caring, the attention, and the involvement that requires is what this person was talking about. If everybody had somebody in their corner and your kids have you guys in their corner, that changes worlds.
1,000%. And maybe
And your sister
yeah.
had people in her corner.
And it's all a process, right? Because most of mental illness it's not like a cold where all of a sudden on Saturday you got a sniffly nose, right? And so there's a process of, yes, if your kid's acting out, that doesn't mean they're bipolar or manic depressive.
Right.
And so you watch for signs. You obviously don't want to ignore it, but you watch for things as they progress. And sometimes in our cases, kids can be quiet and suffering in silence that you don't know. And so you have to be actively diligent in reading things and talking to them. And sometimes they'll talk to you and sometimes they won't.
Right.
And then you have to maybe get professionals involved because maybe they're more comfortable talking to them. And that's where that progression goes. My sister does like I tell you, when she's my hero, she knows that exercise is very important for her. And so she's diligent with that. She cold plunges. She also has lupus on top of bipolar and
just for fun.
and osteoporosis. And she's 30 or she's 40 years old.
What's lupus?
Lupus is an autoimmune basically her joints and kidneys will fail at some points and always it flared up. And basically she's just in pain her whole life.
That was for the audience. I knew what it was.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So it's a lifelong condition that eventually can kill your kidneys if you don't treat it. And both my sisters have lupus. One just happens to have bipolar on top of it. And so
you just can't seem to hit your putts.
How did this blessed all beyond belief as far as what I could be dealing with hereditarily and am not. And so, but unfortunately, some of my kids got to get handed down some of these genes, and so, there's a progression to it. Just the only thing that I would is there are bad apples that don't get it treated, and if you don't get it treated, it can be gnarly. If you're suffering from it, get it treated, whether that be naturally, whether that be toughening it out and telling yourself, but don't get to the point where you're struggling so much to tough it out that you do something like this and you lash out. Like get the help before that.
My belief is get the help. Start with your village. Absolutely.
And hopefully you have a village. Unfortunately, a lot of these people
don't. And if you don't have one, get some help. Don't start with keeping your options open. All right. And if you have somebody that's too, in my opinion, that's too cocksure, because mental health, as we both know, is a very, very, very fast moving target. And there is not one size fits all.
And ultimately it comes down to, in my vast experience with this, and look, I'm not an expert, but I have seen it, like I said, intimately.
Yeah, you've been
on many levels. As a parent, sibling, as a child, the one thing I would say is that you have to love. You have to not ignore it, and you've got to treat it, and whatever that is in treating it, do it, but it's real, and take the shame out of it. Like, I still struggle with certain family members that, and I'm not saying they have I know you're more compassionate than sometimes those feelings on the other side of just tough it out. And I hear that a lot. I hear, why would you be taking a medication? Just deal with it. But I watch that same person say that, knowing that they could use some medication. And they've always had that approach and that medication would do them a lot of good.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's for everybody.
I think it's overprescribed. However, it has its place.
Yeah.
And it
or
keep
if it's not medication,
open.
go talk to somebody or whatever it is.
It has its place. It's like my sister goes
holding it
every
inside,
every week stays on top of it. I'll suggest those cold plunges though, and see if I can't ratchet that on up. I need those.
Do whatever.
More than anybody.
Whatever.
Do you have
it
one
is.
of those at your new place?
It will be transferred from my old place.
Are you sure you just don't want to build a new one?
I mean, I may buy a fancy one when I have needed
When you do, can I have the old
the
one?
deep freezer
Or
that I have. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I need this.
it's
Nobody asked you.
littler than this
It's
table.
going in your room.
There you go.
Well, you do now.
But it's a sensitive issue. I mean, I have you know me. I have zero problem of talking through anything that's hard. But
Look,
this one hits a little harder at home. I'll be honest with you,
and that's why I wanted to talk to
that's
you about
okay.
it, because I'm of the opinion, and I was not trying to talk you into anything, because your lifelong experience,
yeah, it won't change my perception.
Right,
Absolutely.
is very, very open to many to this. This
everybody
scenario.
has their experiences, and they're always going to be colored by your context.
And I've always been dealing with them. My lifelong experience is it's not family, but these clients, you end up getting attached to sometimes, and most of the addiction that I see is caused, in my opinion, in some part or a large part, by isolation.
Sure.
Isolation.
I can
Nobody,
that I will 1,000% support. Our
nobody
screen
told
time
them
that
rub some dirt on it. Nobody said this. Nobody said get out and get busy. Nobody said that, and therefore they have nobody to go to discuss. Maybe I'm dealing with this, and I'm dealing with that, and I'm dealing with this. Most of the time, connection makes that railway saying.
It's so hard though. It is. I mean, it is.
But if it is,
it's so hard to convince your kids that without taking away their agency.
Right.
It's such a balance that I've had tried to do my whole life. Your kids resent you if you take away their phone, and to the point where sometimes that can cause months of resentment. So there's a balance there, but you have to be tough as a dad. I still did it.
It's like taking away their heroin.
Yeah,
it's like, what the heck? When did my kid become a heroin addict?
And I give them grace because that's just the culture they live in society. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I fight against it constantly. You know, Caden's here; he could attest to how much technology as a father has caused me pain, and I blame it fully. Like I fully blame it for a lot of things that happen.
Yeah.
Because it brain rots us and it
brain rot.
exacerbates. Like I said, there are chemical imbalances in mental illness and that are going to manifest itself at some point. There's always a trigger. And I have that science pretty well known, as I've talked to different experts and whatever else, that a lot of times it's a small percentage maybe, but I'm not talking about the person that just suffers from depression or a bad day. I'm talking about like these big imbalances in
like
the brain.
Your sister. Or
there is a
mine.
trigger that does
sure.
it, and eventually it'll manifest itself, and then it's just up to you to make sure you're modeling
you
and
can
treat
have
it.
a perfect life, be born in a perfect scenario, perfect nest, and have very little negative experiences.
Even in the Bible, we know there were people that were suffering from. I mean, this is not new.
The people that Christ was going around healing.
Yeah, I mean, they were absolutely out of their minds, and so. Before we just treated it by throwing people in a hospital, I do think it's over. Yes, we like to throw out diagnoses to cover and mask, and even people themselves become. I don't like the victim mentality, and I know that's where you're probably in the sense that you're looking for something to justify. I don't like anybody who justifies their decisions by looking for something that makes them feel good about their decisions. That's not being honest with yourself.
No, that's being a victim.
That's being a victim. That will cause you a lifetime of pain because you will always blame it on someone
else.
Your
sister is solution oriented.
So
she's found her solution, and it took her a lot of effort to get there.
But the grace is always going to be given to me if you feel like you are struggling with something, and I'll be the first listening ear. Come to me, talk to me about it.
Love it.
If I'm not. And sometimes, and maybe Caden would attest to this, I thought I was doing my best in sometimes, but maybe my approach wasn't always the right one. And I've been more than willing to turn that over to somebody that has a different approach if that's what you need. Mm-hmm. But don't make yourself, don't look for ways to justify behavior. And that's where you see, I think, a lot of your guys on your criminal side of things are doing things
that is true,
and then throwing the mental illness on. And to them, it's just a way for them to feel not accountable for their actions. And that I do not like at all.
It's a way
there is a societal
it's a way
problem
to numb
with
themselves out of the highs, lows purposely because they've become, and I say the word soft, but the reality is it's the isolation It's the
Everyone's looking for love.
right.
I mean,
Same old story,
and
right?
and it's just
Same old story.
d-
Looking for love in all the wrong
Hitler
places.
was looking for love.
Yes.
I mean, that sounds like
This
the stupidest
kid
thing in
that
the world.
Probably just shot up Minnesota is looking for
And
love.
never found
found it.
Or maybe thought that love was going to come by being a martyr, and
Right.
that somebody would notice him.
Yeah,
And it's the
now
wrong
his
port of
name
love.
is known.
His delusion is
Right.
convinced himself that this is the notoriety he needs.
It's too
Whatever
bad.
it is.
It's too bad. We've got a mental health scenario, crisis, we can call it. It's probably knocking at the door.
Oh,
It's
it's a crisis
existential.
for sure.
What I feel like it is, and I'm going to kind of end on your opinion on this. What I feel like it is it's a Me Too movement.
Can be. Mm-hmm.
And so Me Too, Me Too, Me Too, which I feel takes away from your sister and takes away from mine. Those that are working their butt off to make sure that to ensure that each day is a passable day, that they're getting through that day. And they're working harder than you're working to get through that day that ends in Y. That's what they're doing. And that's why she's your hero.
No.
I mean that, and I get that. I 100% get that. And I would love to, put that up on a pedestal and say, this is what a survivor and a winner looks like. Okay. But she won today.
Yeah.
She's still going to wake up and do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
And that's what makes her the winner.
Mm-hmm.
Is that day after day after day after day. And yeah, she's probably not that terribly whiny about having lupus.
Not
on
at
top
all.
Of that.
And that's the
by
crazy
the way,
part about
I
it.
have lupus too. And by the way, you know what I mean? It's like, dadgum, awesome. That is like, let's pull it up, and this is what it looks like.
And both of my sisters, and my other sister may not have the diagnosis of bipolar, but has the lupus, and also, some maybe more minimal mental things that she deals with anxiety and whatever else. And both of them are not. I mean, talk about non-whiners. Like, I
Just
both
tough.
of them are my heroes. They can hear that if I don't tell them enough. If they ever do listen to this podcast, let them know that.
Well, hopefully one of their daughters puts it on.
But the opinion that you're getting at is this, that yes, there is a difference. There's a sliding scale for somebody who's looking to, and society as well. This kid in Minnesota committed an evil act, and we need to call it what it is.
Yep.
I don't want liberals coming out and saying, well, he was mentally ill, and so
or a victim of.
And he's a victim of circumstance. He made a choice, and
Right.
all of us are responsible for our choices.
Yep.
My sister makes the choice, like you said, to get up and fight this every day. Those that don't make that choice doesn't mean it's not hard for them to do, because the medication sucks. It literally sucks. And some people just choose not to do it. I feel bad for you. I wish that you had the strength to do it, because it will serve you well. I'll give you grace, because it sucks and it's hard. And with every decision that's hard, you have to wake up and make that choice every day. And that can be hard. What I don't want, I do agree with you that if you are looking to wake up every day and justify your actions on whatever, either real diagnosis or self-diagnosis that you think you have, to make decisions that are going to cause you pain or others pain, then you even more need the help. Like, get the help. Look yourself in the face, and if you say, I'm having a tough day, and I'm going to fight through it, or I'm going to get the medication, or I'm going to talk to somebody, then you've won your battle that day. If you wake up and say, I'm going to have a tough day and I'm going to go hurt somebody for that's never going to be okay. That's still a mental health crisis.
Yep.
If you're making bad decisions and using your mental illness as a tool to do that, then yes. And we have absolutely 1,000% encouraged that somewhat in society, that's okay. And because you have this mental illness, you're okay doing that. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
And I know that's partly what you were getting at the first place. I immediately react when anybody kind of minimizes mental illness. And I don't know that's not what your intention was, but it's just my first visceral reaction, because I promised myself 20 years ago, when my sister was dealing with this, that nobody would minimize what she goes through. And I feel this kind of, it's that little thing in my heart as I say that I need to tell her more often.
Yeah. Well, she should be and it sounds like she is the poster uh, person, the poster woman, the Wonder Woman of this scenario. And there are others. They choose their hard. Most of the time, people that are honest with themselves and have anybody, oftentimes it doesn't take many. It just takes a few folks that are um, quasi reasonable. But here are the tools that are laying on the table. They're not the only tools that exist. There's a whole entire toolbox over there that has other tools that might be required for the job. Okay? But the main tools are keep your hands busy. Spend time with good people, surround yourself with good people. If you don't, there's a church down the street. There is no excuse to not being able to find decent people.
And if you're part of that church, reach out.
Right. Exactly. And if you're okay, there's some guilt factor, but I love what you just said.
No, I mean, it's just...
I agree. And so here are your tools. Hang out with good people. Keep your hands busy. Do something plus positive with your life.
No, absolutely.
Even if it's going and washing a toilet, even if it's washing a car, even if it's just keeping your little tiny room clean, even if it's doing whatever it is, my office is in deep need to clear off the desk, and I'm not a messy person. And it drives me nuts when I see just a few things out of place.
1,000% the devil's workshop is idle hands are the devil's workshop. I love that statement. I believe it fully for my own self. I get agitated, not mentally ill, but I get agitated when I'm sitting around.
I'm agitated.
And so yes, there are things to do. Get busy, get help.
That's why you brought the mate cup. I mean, it gives you something to do while we're here. You're not just sitting, you've got mate. But so these are the tools. That, along with some classical music and a walk, will probably fix most woes. Does it make life perfect? Life is not perfect. It wasn't designed to be. It's not easy. It never has been. It never will be. Okay? It's going to have your ups and your downs. And some people need different tools, but those people, in my opinion, are in a smaller category than what we've made it.
Yes, we have. Yeah,
and I feel like
we've made mental health a crutch for sure.
We've Me Too'd, and that took away from true victims of crimes.
And we've done that with everything, right?
And I agree. The pendulum thing we talked about. We just go.
We
too
just
far
swing,
with everything.
and we do that with everything, and it confuses kids. And like I said, that man, kids got it hard.
I mean,
they're being pulled from every direction, and they're being convinced that they're everything at the same time as they're nothing. And so
I came walking.
Figure out your identity, kids, if you can, and
say that louder.
Yeah. I mean,
figure it out.
Yeah. Who are you? Ultimately, I believe you're a child of God, and that you've got a purpose.
I agree.
And if you can start there, I don't really care. Once you understand that, you'll make the decisions that are appropriate for your life.
And I will add one thing: it doesn't matter how fast you move, as long as you're moving
in the
forward.
right direction.
Yep. Link by link by link, brick by brick, dollar by dollar, moment by moment. If you're moving in that right direction, and you know it.
Yeah, I don't. Your place doesn't matter. Your direction matters.
Oh, amen, Coach. Cheers. That was great. We're going to end on that one. Good luck with the move.
All right, thank you, sir.